to achieve the party manifesto objectives. Because if you have a running mate who's going to do something else and not support the presidency, then the party has lost its objective. And so, to me, these are very important considerations to put into account. And as now the principals of various parties struggle with this, Kenya, of course, is very much balkanized regionally. And so these issues are going to kick in. One hopes that we will have level-headed discussions.
Yes.
I sometimes don't like threats when I see people saying if it's either me or not me, then that is not the really democracy. And I've never appreciated people who say, you know, that if it's not me, then it's nobody else.
Yes.
No, I mean, allow democracy to flourish, and so allow the process to take shape.
To take shape, indeed. Yes, thank you. Let's hear from Professor Naomi Damba and also Dr. Ali as well. Noah, on that issue, of course, you've been following the developments.
Yes, I'm following the development very closely, Debal. My friend Mwenja mentioned a number of things that are very important to the vice presidency. Lyndon Johnson and Kennedy's were very different. And what Lyndon Johnson was informed, if you disagree, sit in your house and watch TV, but don't go out and speak. There's three other things that needed to be added to Mwenja's list. One is the vice president must be beyond reproach. There should not be any question of corruption or issues that is associated with the deputy or the vice president. Lastly, the vice president candidate or the vice president must respect the constitution of the country and the presidency they serve. What is happening, Dubal, in our country right now is very, very unfortunate. And therefore, the candidates that are coming in right now and say, I must be vice president, I must be in this place, need to really focus on the issues which is affecting Kenya, which is, number one, is corruption, and number two, Kenyans are divided. We need to be a united country. And that will really justify and demonstrate that these people are really, candidates are really ready to step in that office and give us the pride that we need in the country.
Thank you very much. Dr. Mustafa, were you able to decipher what we had seen there, the cartoon, if we may just put it back as well, and you speak to it, and how also the running mates and security, you know, they're conjoined?
I think that caricature appears to me to be a chameleon, I think. With a long tongue, you know, the long tail, and shifting from yellow to orange. You can see the shirt has some oranges there. I think Mudavadi is a decent man. I don't understand why he took the decision he took to go to the camp that he went to, though. That I'm still... but you know, I mean, aside from Mudavadi, who is a decent man, sorry.
Okay, you see Mudavadi. What you're reading is Mudavadi.
I think, yeah, those eyes, and I don't know who else. I don't know who else there. But here is the thing, you know, I'm not surprised. I'm not surprised by the kelele and the noise making of so many politicians who now would like to be a running mate, and they're saying it's them or it's me or nobody else. And these are majority of those many men have bloated egos, probably bloated stomachs from the loot they have been stealing from us, the taxpayers. And this is the challenge with power, politics in Kenya and many other countries in Africa. Power is personalized. And you can see even in today's dispensation, that you have a president and the deputy that does not exactly, see eye to eye with the president because of this personalization of power. And most of those people that are making a lot of noise with bloated egos trying to be running mates are going to behave in the same manner when they actually become a deputy president. It's very important that when you are a deputy, you speak the same language with the principal for the country to move forward. I'd like to see more younger people actually vying to become a running mate, for example, and not very old politicians who, to my, in my own view, have very little to offer to this country.
All right. Okay, so I don't know what Dr. Peter Biara Jack is going to read from this as well, so I will cross over to you. So we'll not actually have the luxury of looking at the cartoon, but you've been also following the story as well. But who do you decipher this to be?
Dr. Mustafa made me mention the eyes, and I think that is quite an interesting angle to look at this.
They are beady eyes.
Yeah, the big eyes, and his speculation about Mudavadi. But when I saw the first thing I saw, of course, was the chameleon and the shifting of stands from one color to another. And this, of course, I know my friend Hashi doesn't like me talking about this thing, but it reminded me of his good friend Kalonzo. I've been saying for quite some time now how Kalonzo has always shifted from one stand to another. And it's not even really surprising now, especially the way in which he has been going about pursuing this position, and the way in which he has mobilized his allies, including our dear friend Hashi here, to argue for his case. It's sort of like putting a gun on Raila and saying that if you don't put me, then my votes could potentially go to Ruto, or I may decamp to Ruto, and then you will be forced to a runoff and all these kind of things. And I think this is a wrong way to seek the vice presidency. It should be about how one will support the agenda of the president. That is the first thing, is the agenda. When it comes to qualification, of course, all of these people are highly qualified. But more importantly is also the complement to the character of the president himself. Of course, in the past, Raila has chosen Kalonzo as his running mate, and he may very well do so again. But I think also this is something that he should reflect very heavily on, because we have talked about how the Kenyan politics is personalized and divided into this camp, and is very shallow when it comes to ideologies and policy platform. So I think Raila here should think about what would be best for him and his presidency, not just simply think about the mathematics of the vote, because you may very well end up, as exactly mentioned by Dr. Mustafa, at the situation that we are seeing now between Uhuru and Ruto. And this was because of mathematics of vote. So there has to be more than that. It can't just be, I claim this, I control this region. Kenyan people, at the end of the day, have to make a choice that matters. And I think the difference here between Raila and Ruto is very clear. So if politicians do not prioritize the agenda more than their own particular interest, then that is quite unfortunate. There are others, like Mustafa said, I'd like to see more younger people vying for this position. And I also like to see women. Kenya is a great country, is the example of democracy in our region. Where are women in the executive positions at the top leadership of the government? So perhaps it's about time that Kenya should have also a woman who is a vice president.
Indeed, indeed. Right. Ahmed Ash, you wanted to respond? Yes.
I'm an ally of the Honorable former Prime Minister Raila Odinga for the last 20 years. But when I come here as a national figure speaking about the political economy of this country. Peter has brought up some very good points that I agree with many of them. But Kenya is characterized by the last 60 years by a deep trenchant politics that is based on ethnicity, Damba. I mean, this is just a fact of life. And I was the director of communications and spokesman for the Orange Democratic Movement. And I was involved in the largest political party in sub-Saharan Africa, or the largest political party north of the Limpopo. So as a young idealist person who came to fight for this country and for its rights and where it should be, the most progressive politician I saw was Mr. Odinga. I could have easily gone to Mr. Kibaki, who was in government, and I probably would have been the finance minister or something by now. But I believe passionately in issues, in trying to change this country so that my children and the generations that are coming can live in a society where it's less detribalized, less ethnicity, more issue-oriented, and more integrated. And that is a vision. I mean, if as the great American scholar who wrote Huckleberry Finn said, you know, if you're starving in your head and you're full in your belly, you're just a useless fellow. So, you know, your brain is starving, but your belly is full. You're not really a human being. There has to be a balance between your brains and the little sandwiches that you eat. So in Kenya, we all just want to eat. We all just want to go and live in Karen, no pun intended. My grandfather founded Karen. He was one of the founders of Karen. And I grew up there. So, Damba, I think that we need a transformational leader like Raila Odinga in this country, who can attack corruption, who can attack the ills of this country. And with Mr. Kalonzo as his running mate, Damba, the numbers are there so that we can change. You can't do anything if you're not in the levers of power. Once you're not there, there's no change you can do. And it is the state that is at the center of our political economy when it comes to change. And we need change in Kenya today.
But there's a very interesting editorial cartoon as well in the Daily Nation, even as we're running up on this as well. And then we buckle down to discussion. So it appears that you're pushing the envelope for Kalonzo Musyoka, but we have also other people, especially women leagues from the different factions, pushing for the position of a running mate to go to a woman. And we can see here in the gamble, they're actually having two of them, Waigoro and on Azimio, we have Martha Karua at the end of the day.
But it's not going to happen. It's not going to happen. This country is based on ethnic groups. You want to go to, beg your pardon, you want to go to Western Kenya, you want to go to Kisumu, you want to go to Nyanza, you want to go to that areas. There's the kingpin is over there. In Kisii, it used to be Nyachai. Today, it's probably someone else. If you want to go to Nyanza, it's Mr. Odinga. If you want to go to Rift Valley, it's Mr. Ruto. Damba, that's the fact of life. And we ought to speak the truth when it comes to the politics of this country. That's what we want to change. We want to change that. But we're not going to change it in opposition. The progressive forces in this country are tired of being in the opposition. Let someone else go into the opposition. We want to go into the government so that we can put the agenda of the people of this country front and center, using the levers of the state. And there's one man who has paid a price for this country, and that's Mr. Odinga. He's been in jail.
Thank you.
He's done all those kinds of things, so we ought to tell the truth about this country.
Thank you. I need to give you an invoice for actually taking this opportunity to...
You asked the question, I give you my answer.
Yeah, I was looking at this one in the Nation, and one sad aspect of it is that both Raila and Ruto are trying to push the lady into this drum. Whatever that means, whether they want to silence them or they want to gamble, because you can see this is the one used in sweepstakes and all this.
Yes.
But I think these issues are part. I normally agree with Hashi a lot, but here I want to take a different stance. On one hand, he's arguing that yes, we must deal with Kenya being balkanized as it is. And then on the other hand, you say, let's compromise on the standards so that once we get there, we can change. Then I didn't get you properly.
But there's no compromise on standards.
Yes.
Kalonzo is a lawyer.
I'm not saying that by choosing Kalonzo, you are compromising.
I'm not compromising.
But you are saying progressive forces are out waiting for too long.
Yes.
And so you need to come in.
Yes. Why not?
You know, if you use wrong journals to get to power, those will follow you into power. In fact, if you see all these people who are supported by oligarchs to get to power, the oligarchs will be following them.
So you mean progress will follow us? Of course, I want progress to follow us.
Dibal continue.
Let's go so much to Naomi Damba and Dr. Mustafa. Yes, Naomi Damba, you're looking at that digital cartoon. What are you reading yourself? The running mate gamble, of course, with the two women also were being fronted in UDA and also the Azimio.
Dubal, my point, and I agree with most of what my colleagues here are saying, but the Kenyan people cannot be woodworked anymore. We cannot elect people because, and I always agree with Hashi because of his knowledge in the public system, that we are divided, that we are ethnic, that we are tribal. But tribal is not going to get us anywhere in this world. When you are in America, nobody is going to ask you where you come from in Kenya. When you are in Asia, the same thing. South Korea got rid of tribalism, and they are where they are. Singapore did the same thing. They are where they are. And so we should be able to cast our net across, particularly look at the women, a lot of young women, very sharp, Dubal, are coming up, and we cannot just treat them as women. We need to look at what Sululu is doing in Tanzania and all others. It is their time, it is the occasion for them to rush up and really be part and parcel of the leadership in this country without men saying, we installed them. That should not happen. And therefore, there is no excuse, Dubal, to debate about deputy. We need to debate about the issues that are affecting the country, the corruption level, the poverty, and all education, agriculture. We need to focus on those issues. And anybody who is focusing on what is it I'm going to get, we have not killed the cow yet. We have not killed the animal. How can you claim to have the lamb or part of it before you do that? Let us focus on issues that are affecting the country.
Okay. All right, Dr. Mustafa.
Yeah, Dibal, I think that cartoon, I don't know what the, who was that who was drawing? I don't
This
know.
is a Victor.
Victor, I don't know what he thought when he was drawing that cartoon, but again, it just shows that the society we live in is quite still very heavily patriarchal, and the patriarchy of stuffing women into those drums and gambling with them, I think that is in bad taste. I don't know why one's leg is out, the other one is in the drum, and I think we've got to treat our women better, and we should not be instrumentalizing women and gender in this politics. We have to respect the women. They qualify as much as the men who are running in these elections.
All right. Yeah, short and toss there. Let's cross over to Peter Biara, Jack. Then we wind up on the dailies. We now buckle down to a discussion after the break that we'll just take momentarily. Dr.
Yeah, well, Dubal, Hashi makes some very good point in terms of real politics. He talks about the numbers, and it's the reality of the Kenyan politics that the numbers do matter, and that you have these tribal kingpins that control the numbers. But if I were in the position of Raila Odinga, I would pick, without a shadow of doubt, Martha Karua. And the reason is simple. Although Raila has been in opposition for quite a long time, when it comes to actually a politician in Kenya that complements Raila's spirit for fighting and for standing to principle, I think Martha Karua is there at the top. She has been very well regarded, very reputable, and she's a fighter, someone that can actually fight tooth and nail. And if indeed Kenyans see Raila as a transformational figure, he will need all the help that he can get. And I think Martha Karua would be able to do that. So he will add a lot to Raila's agenda in terms of her own personal credential and personal expertise. She's extremely well qualified. She's someone with very high moral principles. She's someone that sticks to her guts. She fights. They have been on a different side before, so Raila knows exactly how ferocious she is as a fighter. So if I were in Raila's position, this is the person I would pick without any second consideration to the machinations of Kalonzo or some of these bigwigs.
That's it for the paper review this morning. We're going to take a short break. Actually, I know we'll not end this conversation. I can see your hand up, but I'll not take it right now. But this is what is in the People Daily today as well, drawn by Stano. As we're talking about nominations, we saw the skirmishes with the primaries, both from ODM and also from UDA as well. And this is what has been depicted here by Stano, especially on the issues of bribery on the ground as well. With aspirants bribing some of the voters. You can see someone saying, I deserve it, direct nomination certificate, party's choice. We saw also some aspirants being, shot, 17, gun wounds in hospital. People also have died because of this nominations at the end of the day. So what does it really portend to where we are heading? And this is just the nominations. We are not even yet near the elections, so to speak, as far as time is concerned. We take a short break right now. When we circle back, of course, we continue with the topics of the day. We'll look at why Rwanda is shouldering the UK's burden of asylum seekers and what does it really portend for the region. Kenya declined to take this offer from the UK. So what really also prompted that particular, of course, declining? We want to just interrogate this with our panelists on the other side of a break, and still we follow also the resumption of parliament in Somalia. But there was also a terrorist attack in that parliament where we saw some of the legislators also injured. Don't go away. You're watching Global Today here on Morning Prime.